We are back with you again live with another Johnny Torch Live broadcast. Broadcast number 138. We are doing Torch News Roundup number 125. We have two different numbering systems here. I always wonder if I should sort of shelve one of them and just stick with the other, but welcome in once again on the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on Johnny Torch Live for our Torch News Roundup. Seated high above the fair metropolis below in the heart of Torch Tower. I want to welcome you all in, and I've got the chat room open in case anybody out there, if you're listening, let me know you're listening in the chat. And give us a like. Give us a like. We've got a couple of views on our last video. Hey! Pretty excited about that, to actually have some views. Maybe the subject touched a lot of hearts, seeing as how it was about Captain Marvel, but unfortunately, no Captain Marvel news today. So we'll see if that's what made the little boost in ratings. Okay, we got a lot of stuff to cover here, but first off, again, a bit of a somber note to start the show on, but a week, just about, I don't know, it's been over a week, but Peter Simeti getting swatted, of course, we talked about in our last broadcast last Saturday. Now Edwyn Boyett has also been swatted, and just today the story broke, and just basically while I was putting the show together, I heard about it, and I saw it on Ethan Van Sciver's live stream. Again, terrible, terrible thing to have to go through, and my prayers are with Edwyn Boyett. And when is this going to end? You know, when are people going to learn? It could very easily have gotten very bad very quickly, and without the grace of God, that, you know, nothing unfortunate came of the situation as it stood. But again, we have to address this problem. We have to address these radical SJWs, anti-comic skaters, whatever moniker you want to saddle them with. They are out of touch. They are out of touch with reality. And we need to stand together at this time when it comes to, again, whatever your stance is on comic skate or anime gate or whatever, Star Wars gate, whatever bizarre SJW encroachments are going on in your particular fandom. We can't resort to having violence being either threatened or carried out with things like swatting. And it's, again, unacceptable. Hopefully, whoever person who committed this act is going to be found out and punished according to the law. But again, I just have to, we have to address this when it comes up. It's just ridiculous, particularly in the case of something like over comics. I mean, you have to stop and think. This is over some kind of ideological culture war pertaining to comics and Star Wars, and it's not, it's not some kind of great crusade you're doing when you're threatening, and there's nothing honorable about it, threatening and trying to commit these kind of heinous acts against people of different either religions or political affiliations. Of course, Edwyn Boyett is a vocal Christian, as we were talking last week about Vic Manola. Again, apologies to Vic. And it seems like the more outspoken of a Christian you are also is what's going to get you. I think there's a pattern where, they want to try to stick it to whoever is as mild-mannered as possible, because I think if you're going to be an agitator, if you're going to be a what's the term? The term I was thinking of, but you're basically an agitator. That's that's not who they're going to go after, because they want to use that as their propaganda. Oh, look what so and so is saying. Provocateur, that's the word I was looking for. They kind of want to use that as like a provocateur is, causing a bad light for whatever cause they're for. But in the case of, people who are just living their faith vocally, living their beliefs vocally, their political agendas vocally, that's the stuff that the more lower element among us wants to silence, because it is the average person with the the beliefs that we've had for thousands of years, and in the case of politics, for hundreds of years, but it still doesn't make it right. It still doesn't make it any more, it's crazy. It's crazy for anybody to be thinking that this is the way to conduct yourselves in the 21st century. It's crazy. So again, my thoughts and prayers are with Edwyn Boyett, with Peter Samedi, and with anybody else who has been under the assault of these unhinged individuals. And again, I don't like having to open the broadcast with these kind of somber reminders of what reality we're going through right now, both in the comic book industry and in life in general. It's just it's a pretty sad commentary on the opposition, so to speak. Okay, so again, once again, before we get any further with the news, I want to remind you, please check out The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. The link to my website is in the description below. You will find a 3-page preview. I also have my link to my Twitter page down there, and you will find I put up 2 panels. So check this out. I retweeted it so it's close to the top of the page. And it's 2 panels from issue 7 that I'm working on right now. I usually don't release images from the new book until it's like really close to publication. And we're still probably over a month away before this is going to see publication, but you can get a little glimpse of what is going to happen at the beginning of the story. When last we left Bullets Bourbon, the situation was dire. He was captured by his 2 most dangerous adversaries, Pencil Neck and Carrot Top, and you will see what perilous predicament he finds himself in. Bullets Bourbon, the protagonist of our little tale. It's exciting because when I ended the chapter, because the second chapter of this story arc we're doing now was kind of lengthy, and I didn't really want to end it showing the cliffhanger. I wanted to kind of leave that so you wondered what the cliffhanger was actually going to be, what they were going to do to Bullets Bourbon to sort of get him out of their way. But then I kind of thought also, even though it would have added more pages, it probably would have been a little more of the classic style to actually see what predicament he'd gotten into. So I guess in this way, it's sort of the best of both worlds. If you read the comic as is, you really don't know what predicament he's going to find himself in. But now I've let the cat out of the bag, and you'll be able to see if you check out my Twitter page in the link in the description below. Also, want to ask you if you can possibly find it in your heart to hit that subscribe button. It would be much appreciated. We got another sub last week, I believe it was, that I said we're up to 81 subs now. We're trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. Last year I had this drive to try to get 100 by the end of the year, and we got about, let me think, we got like about 15, something like that. So if you want to look at it that way, um, let's see if we can break that. Let's see if we can get over 100. Let's see if we can get more than 15 subs this year. And of course, smash that like button, hit that like button, let everyone know that you are watching the Johnny Torch Live broadcast, share it with your friends, let everyone know. It would mean a lot to me. And again, you know, I would be more encouraged to do more videos if I were getting some more viewers. And again, I haven't really gotten the chance to do any short videos yet because every time I get some new software, it doesn't work for me. I keep using that as an excuse, but also I'm very busy doing the comic, so doing it as a live stream has always been easier for me. But there are other things I'd like to do. I'd like to do the short format video again. I like to do reviews in that format, especially. I like that format for doing reviews. I want to do some religious videos. That'll be a lot of fun. In fact, I was toying with that, writing out one this past week. If it ever gets broadcast, will be another story. But we are working on certain things here, and we're going to try to, come up with some fun stuff in the coming months. My birthday is coming up soon. Yours truly next week. So again, sometimes I try to do 2 videos in a week. Haven't done that in a while, but definitely won't be getting 2 videos next week. So probably next Saturday is when we'll do another show. Okay, with all that out of the way, with all that attended to, let us go on to our first topic of the day, our first story of the day. And we have some info about the Batman. We keep getting info about this. This should be pretty much a shorter broadcast because I couldn't find a whole lot of news I wanted to talk about. But I did get there was a rumor going out all week about Armie Hammer is in serious talks about finalizing casting for the Batman, and he would play Batman. As far as I know, I don't deal in rumor like that. I mean, we got the same story. Robert Pattinson is in serious talks to play the Batman. What happens is some fan of the actor will like put some story out like it's like a PR story or something, and everybody runs with it. And I don't do that, but because I didn't do that with Robert Pattinson, I'm not doing with Armie Hammer. Apparently, Hammer at this point, from what I've read, I think has debunked the rumor and said that he hasn't been contacted. He is in no negotiation, so that is official. But I got this little nugget of information here. It says the new version of Batman, quote unquote, won't be a straight up rookie a la the Caped Crusader and Frank Miller's Batman Year One, but he won't be the expert, undefeatable crime fighter of a Batman at his peak. So that's what we're looking at now. And again, he's not going to be a straight up rookie, but they are still looking to cast a very young actor, I guess. We're still looking at Batman in his 20s, which again, I don't know. I have always said that I think I don't think see in Batman Begins they had him start his career at 30. And I always kind of felt that was appropriate. Again, there's a religious motif in that. In Superman the movie, he started his career at 30, and it's meant to mirror Christ, who began his earthly ministry at 30. In those days in Hebrew theology, you were basically considered a man at 30. You were allowed to have your own opinions and to, you know, uh, be a rabbi and so forth. Um, in this case, I think you can't go too young with Batman. I've never seen him as a young character. As I've always said, I've said this before, I know I said it on Twitter, but I think I've said it in one of my videos that Batman's prime age to me has always been early 40s. Now, they had Ben Affleck, who he kind of looked, they tried to make him like old man Batman by really graying up his hair and stuff. 40 years old, you're not that gray. I mean, come on. But I don't know. I mean, when you think of it, if you want to get in Robin, he has to be in his 30s. If you want to get in at least 3 Robins, he's got to be in his 40s. There's no other way around it. Now, this is obviously going to be an earlier incarnation of Batman that he's not going to have, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Dick Grayson. But see, now you even have Damian you have to try to fit in. It's like, where do you fit all those years in? You know what I mean? It's going to be, you just have to close your eyes and, use comic book time. That was a little bit easier back in the day when it was like the original Spider-Man stories were in the 60s and they were all talking like, hey man, with it, it's cool and isn't that? And then, when you were still writing comics in the 80s, it was like, well, they don't talk quite as, 60s-ish, but you could tell they still have the same kind of, cadence about them and so forth. But in the case of Batman, when you have a lot of proteges that he has to have taught, you have to give some room for them to have grown, and then him taking on another protege and have that one grow, and then you can't just have like 3 Robins back to back, all of within a year apart. There has to be some kind of continuity there. Anyway, so if you're interested in this, let me know what you think. What about the Batman? Does this sound exciting to you? The age of the Batman? What is your definitive age of the Caped Crusader? What is your default prime of Batman? Let me know. And like I said, for me, it's like early 40s. I think by 42, 43, you could say he was with at least 3 proteges, with 3 Robins. With Damian, maybe you get him up to like 45, but that's kind of peak age for Batman. He should be around 40, 42, something like that. Because you got to remember also back in the day, it was, if you were considered like 35, you were like a has-been. You were washed up. It's like Rocky 3. or Balboa is now 34 years old. It's not likely he'll regain the title, and then later on we've got George Foreman at like 45, regaining the title. It's not impossible, especially in comic book, hyper reality. You could still have a 40-year-old guy jumping through windows and off buildings and stuff. It's not really too tough to take. All right, so moving on now. Let's see our next story we have. This is a story that broke, probably make a lot of people sad. I don't really care either way, to be honest with you, but Netflix has severed ties with the MCU entirely now by finally coming out and saying, yep, the Punisher and Jessica Jones are also axed. Jessica Jones, I don't care so much. I am curious about the Punisher. Again, I don't like a lot of violence. And so I don't like a lot of blood, and that's why I really haven't gotten to the Punisher yet. But I would probably check it out and just do a streamlined viewing. The first 2 episodes, then like the last 4 episodes, something like that. But yeah, it's official. Jessica Jones still has season 3 to release in a couple of months, I believe. I'm not sure. Punisher season 2, of course, just released about a month ago or so, I think. And I don't got the story here, but apparently Eminem was very disappointed in the Punisher's cancellation. Um, Again, I don't like what Netflix has done with the Marvel shows. I'm not too fond of any of them. I think they could have done better. Of course, I will say I think the actors were all fantastic. Um, Especially Daredevil. I think that whole cast could come back as is in a film or something. And if they just used sort of the MCU formula to make them, a little bit more fun, a little more family friendly, I would be happy with it. A Punisher, obviously he's not as family friendly, but John Bernthal, of course, was great. I would like to see him as well. There's always the possibility that Disney will do something with Daredevil, Heroes for Hire, uh, perhaps the Punisher, not sure, but the Disney streaming service could pick them up and do something with it. But as far as we know now, it's pretty much going to be forgotten. I think they're going to probably start from scratch in a few years. And again, characters like Daredevil and the Punisher, I think, really need to be made like big screen adaptions. I don't know if you really want to do them again in television form. If they can do it, I'll be happy with it. But again, I don't know. I think that they're more of the big screen stuff. I think you can do Heroes for Hire maybe on a TV budget. Um, it's tougher because Iron Fist is more of a little bit more out there. You can do Luke Cage probably pretty cost effectively, but to do Iron Fist with all the Kunlun stuff, I don't know. That might be a little bit trickier. But again, let me know what you think about Netflix severing ties with all the MCU shows that they created. Okay, let's talk about this one now. Here we go. We got just a little bit of information here about Ghostbusters 3. As we know, Jason Reitman has picked up the reins from his dad, Ivan Reitman, who directed the first 2 Ghostbusters movies. And again, sadly, as we can see in this image here, it's not going to quite look like this anymore because what is it? 35 years have passed at this point. I'm not even sure. I'm trying to think. What the last one came out? What was it? 89. 89. Gee whiz, man. Yeah, that's a long time. And of course, Harold Ramis has sadly passed on, and he is not going to be joining the cast, as we all know. And Hollywood Reporter has revealed that Jason Reitman is planning on meeting with a number of young actors to find 4 teenage protagonists. The trade confirms that he's looking for 2 pairs of brother and sister combos in the 12 to 17-year-old range. This is interesting because it seems like I think what got this film greenlit was Stranger Things, very clearly. Stranger Things got this movie greenlit because the show is extremely popular. I haven't watched it because I don't have Netflix again, but I think it's sort of, from what I gather, a paranormal type deal, a paranormal type show. where we're talking about government experimentation and weird stuff like that. And I see a lot of merchandise for it in stores. I see, T-shirts and so forth, and I see the kids in different commercials and stuff. So I mean, it's popular. I think that's what they're trying to ape here. I wouldn't necessarily go so young, 12 to 17, but I mean, maybe 17 if you want to do teenagers, do teenagers that are old enough to carry a proton pack. I mean, exactly how are you going to, I don't know, how are you going to get a kid to carry a proton pack at 12 years old? They look like they weigh a ton. But two pairs of brother sister combos. That's also interesting. They're going to be two sets of brothers and sisters. I don't really understand. I don't really understand, but hey, as long as they're getting to it, and as long as they got the original cast involved somehow. I mean, I don't know if they're going to pay Bill Murray enough to own his own continent in order to have some kind of a role in this. Dan Aykroyd's excited about it, and I'm pretty sure Ernie Hudson wouldn't turn it down, providing it isn't a complete disaster. And and if they were actually in the 2016 Ghostbusters, kind of leads me to believe that they'll be in this one. But yeah, let me know what you think about Ghostbusters 3. We don't even know if it's really going to be called Ghostbusters 3, but apparently it's going to be tied to the original two movies, so it's in theory Ghostbusters 3. It's going to continue to be Ghostbusters 3. All right, let's see. As we wind down here with the news, let's take a look at one of our cover stories here. This is really exciting. Again, this is still sort of rumorville. This has not exactly been confirmed, so I don't have anything to tell you apart from the headlines that I think all of you probably know right now. Making Star Wars, who is at least allegedly an extremely reliable source of information. Again, take that with a grain of salt if you want, because I don't really follow any Star Wars media because basically Star Wars is in trouble right now. Star Wars is suffering. Star Wars is suffering. We talked about that a little bit last week too. But I think this is the only thing that would really get fans on board. I think this would really excite people if they did do something with Obi Wan Kenobi, if they did a movie or television series. Now, again, we're talking about a Disney universe, or Disney Plus, I guess is being called, and they're known for, like, they're trying to do a miniseries. I think they're doing miniseries of several MCU characters such as Vision and Scarlet Witch, Loki, we talked about last week, Winter Soldier, and the Falcon. Okay, so Making Star Wars is reporting that an Obi-Wan Kenobi series is a priority for Disney Plus and could span as many as 6 episodes. So yeah, 6 episodes. Again, they're not saying how long these episodes would be, but I imagine at an hour a piece, 6 episodes. That, you know, that's kind of like having an Obi-Wan trilogy. I mean, that's not a full 3 movies, but I don't know, maybe it would be if I mean, I'm trying to think if they had edited for commercials and stuff, and then you got like a 40-minute show, then of course that's not really up to a movie. But anyhow, as long as they're doing something with this, sounds exciting. Let's see. Apparently, the Jedi Master standalone movie was originally set to start shooting after Solo, and Ewan McGregor remains on board the project regardless of what form it takes. Good things are being said about the movie script, so that should bode well for what has now become spin-off series instead. I should say a spin-off series instead. Garbage tier. In terms of in terms of specific plot details, though, they remain something of a mystery. All right, so they're saying at least that they're going to adapt this movie, or what was going to be a movie, into a miniseries. Now, that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, because on the one hand, this is pretty much all you have to offer Star Wars fans right now. I am not excited for episode 9. Post episode 9, we don't really have any prospects, do we? They're not saying that they're greenlighting any movies. Of course, there was also that that rumor going around, that hoax that I didn't buy into, that Ryan Johnson's trilogy was canceled. We all know it's canceled, but they're not going to make that official. That's going to be one of those things that just sort of go by the wayside. I don't see them coming out and saying that until like 8 years from now, when the sequel trilogy is dead and buried. But apart, then there was the Game of Thrones guys was supposedly the Star. Lucasfilm has become the DCEU, in as much as they basically spitball ideas and then leak them to the press, and everybody's like, the Trench movie, and then it gets out there, and yeah, the Trench movie, and then they'll never make it. And the same thing's going on here with Star Wars. It's like Ryan Johnson getting his own trilogy. It ain't gonna happen. They're just trying to, give him a fanny pat just to just to keep them sort of on good terms, even though he completely decimated Star Wars and is not single-handedly responsible. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy bears the responsibility as well, but just you're not going to reward him with a trilogy after that. It's not going to happen, and we know that. But again, like I said, I didn't want to go throwing no party because I knew that they weren't going to confirm that. And so we don't have any, in a roundabout way, what I'm trying to say is we don't have any prospects for a Star Wars movie. Why would you take the one sole prospect that would put butts in seats in a movie theater and make it a miniseries? I think you're going to get people subscribing to Disney Plus just on the MCU movies alone. You also got The Mandalorian in the works. So for the Star Wars contingent, I'm pretty sure that would make them check it out because it's in good hands with Jon Favreau, for one thing. It's got a pretty interesting looking cast. Um, and it may or may not have to do a Boba Fett. We don't know if it's going to be Boba Fett or maybe a member of the Fett clan. Who knows? But that is interesting enough. They've tossed around things like Cassian Andor. I even heard the possibility of a Rose Tico miniseries. Oh, I'm sure to tune in for those. But so they got stuff that they kind of are percolating on Disney Plus. I don't see why you take Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor, something that both sides of the aisle, the prequel fans and the OT fans, the OT only fans, can agree on was the best part of the prequel trilogy, and has been in demand for some time for his own solo movie. I don't see why you take that and try to gain subs to your streaming service. I think you make $1 billion movie. You could make $2 billion on the Obi-Wan solo movie. I don't see why you make a TV show of it. But again, if it's good, if the script is good for the movie and they're adapting it to a TV show and it's more episodes, it's longer than a standalone movie, and with the potential for another miniseries down the line as sort of a sequel, I guess it's fine. But I don't get really the logic of it. The logic of it doesn't make sense to me, and I think that we will probably see this idea go by the wayside as well. I'm pretty sure. That's what I'm thinking anyway. That's my prediction. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this Obi-Wan miniseries on Disney Plus is for real? Or do you think this is, again, them sort of pipe dreaming and spitballing and just saying, hey, maybe we could do this. Hey, maybe we could do that. That's all I think it is. I'm pretty sure. Okay, so moving on now to our second topic, our second cover story. Resume the show, resume the broadcast. And so we're going to talk about Black Widow's solo movie. Yes, the Black Widow solo movie is still in the works. Now, the rumor was going out for quite some time that the Black Widow solo movie would indeed be rated R. A lot of people were anticipating that and hoping that it was going to be rated R. All you perverts out there. We're hoping for an R-rated Black Widow movie, but Kevin Feige came down on the side of the angels and came out with this statement saying, it was never going to be. Somebody writes, I hear it's R-rated, and then everybody writes it up. So he's coming right out and saying what I've been saying all along. They're not going to make an R-rated Black Widow movie. It's just not going to happen. It shouldn't happen. In my opinion, it doesn't need to happen. But because, like I said, they're going to want Black Widow to appeal to the little girls in the audience. I've always said this. I know I'm sounding like a broken record if you've watched me follow this story. But you can't sell merchandise to little girls if it's an R-rated Black Widow movie. And it doesn't really need to be, although I kind of did some what do they call that? Some clickbait in the thumbnail where I say that, a assassin, seductress, double agent is going to be starring in a family-friendly MCU movie. I can understand where people are coming from because I too want the Black Widow movie to have a little bite to it. But there's a difference between having it have a little bite to it and having it be like straight out nudity and inappropriate situations and so on and so forth. They don't have to go that far without you know implying it. You can just imply stuff's going on. They did that pretty well in Avengers, the original Avengers movie. Avengers and Iron Man 2 are the only movies where they really traded in on that classic Black Widow mystique where she's supposed to be a seductress. I mean, they've carried it on through some of their movies, such as The Winter Soldier. She could do that, and also Age of Ultron. But I don't think they want to put a spotlight on that. That's the reason why they took a long time to greenlight this movie, because you have to remember the SJWs want Captain Marvel to be their flagship female character. They want her to be sort of the androgynous sort of female power, like the Carl Manvers uh meme that's been going around, because that's the way she was drawn for quite a while in the comics. You can't do that with Black Widow. You can't. At least they haven't succeeded in doing that yet. Black Widow is quite, quite apparently female, and you can't take Natasha Romanoff and turn her into what they did with Carol Danvers. At least it hasn't happened yet, and since she already was in the movies, played by the lovely Scarlett Johansson, they haven't gotten to ruin that character yet. So again, I hope it has more bite to it than obviously what Captain Marvel is going to have, because again, they're treating Captain Marvel like they had to divest her of any femininity to try to make her not the Ms. Marvel version of the 70s, where she was, very feminine and very appropriately beautiful. In the case of Black Widow, they already have Scarlett Johansson playing the classic Black Widow. There really isn't anything they can do to alter that at this point, and I think that's the reason why she hasn't had a movie yet, because they didn't know how to handle the situation for SJWs to not pick it apart. I think they also got scared when they tried to give us some of her history, some of her past in Age of Ultron, where we get the flashbacks to the Red Room. And a lot of people, jumped all over Josh Whedon like they tend to do, and was like, oh, this is terrible, this is horrible, you can't say this about a woman and this and that, that she, in her own words, became a monster from the conditioning she received from the Red Room program. And so I think that scared them away, as well as not knowing how to handle her, not knowing how to handle a feminine seductress, temptress, and also not knowing how to handle her background, where she's done many unsavory things. I mean, it's one thing to have Captain Marvel be a Mary Sue. Black Widow is not a Mary Sue. She's a very flawed individual. And you want to be able to play up those flaws, that she's not, she's not a Captain America. She's not a Captain Marvel. She's not someone that has this like impeccable character. She basically came over from the dark side, so there's that. And I think they just don't know what to do with her. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think that Black Widow needs to have the R rating in order to be giving us the accurate Black Widow? Or are you just a pervert that wants a shower scene? And you're not going to get that in an R-rated superhero movie anyway. I mean, when they do these R-rated superhero movies, it's really not for nudity. It's basically just because the SJWs would come down all over Kevin Feige and the MCU if it was just, well, we want an R-rated movie because we want to have Scarlett Johansson naked. I mean, that's not going to happen. SJWs would be all over them, and it would be another one of those kind of mob mentality piling on. So when they talk about an R-rated movie, they just want situations where there's going to be some swearing, there's going to be some frank talk, and there's going to be like some bloody violence, maybe. I don't want to say gore necessarily, bloody probably, not necessarily gore, but torture scenes or something, that kind of stuff. So anyway, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. I think it has to, and that's the reason why I didn't like the Netflix shows too much. It has to stay within the MCU's parameters. It has to be something that feels on the same pacing as the other movies in the franchise. Otherwise, you've got a problem with it feeling out of tone with everything else. All right, so we move on here now to our final story of the evening. And it is once again, we are going to take a look at some images from Birds of Prey. Oh, yes, these have been released over the past few days. This is of Harley Quinn, the lovely Margot Robbie. She's wearing the same outfit, it looks like, from the original photos that were leaked of her with the big fuzzy coat, whatever that was. And she apparently now is wearing some kind of smock that says Harley Quinn all over it. She's a lot dirtier looking. I mean, she's got smudges on her face and clothing, and she's holding on to what looks like VHS tapes. This is going to be great, this movie. I can tell right away. And she's holding what looks to be a beaver. I don't know. Again, the jury's still out on whether this is going to be an R-rated movie. And again, I am desperately hoping it's not going to be, but it does look classic Harley Quinn. Very strange, very strange situation. Apparently, she finds herself in now. A lot of times, because we looked at the photos of her a couple of weeks ago, and you can check out that video. Nobody has yet. But apparently she goes to a store, a pet shop with rare pets or something, that we were hoping, or at least I was hoping, that she's going to be adopting some hyenas. Could this be a small young hyena? I don't know, because that's what Harley Quinn owns in the comics. That would be very interesting. I don't know what a young hyena looks like. That to me still looks more like a, I don't know. I've never seen a beaver in real life either. Maybe an otter. It's an otter, maybe. I don't know. But again, she looks very good, but she looks very unkempt, as if something, some kind of tragedy has befallen. And we'll have to find out what goes on from there. Let's see. We also have a lot of people are saying this is the breakup between Harley and the Joker, which again, I'm hoping this is going to be a I'm hoping this is going to be a sign that the Joker is going to be in this movie. A lot of people are saying that Jared Leto is done with the um, with the franchise, and if that's the case, I still want to see the Joker show up with another actor playing him. Because, like I said, you have to explain why the Joker and Harley are on the outs, particularly after last movie. Unless, what I'm guessing they're really going to do here, though, is they're And this probably would be funny though. This, what they probably could do is they could do the Odd Couple opening. I'm thinking this is gonna be probably pretty funny if they do this. You know, you can do like Oscar Madison and Felix Unger when Felix Unger leaves. I can't remember. I used to watch the show as a kid all the time in reruns, but and Oscar. No, it's Felix. Felix' wife hands him the frying pan out the door, and you never see him. So what you could have. What you could have happen is the Joker like hands her the baseball bat from outside the door, and you know, the Joker has requested that Harley Quinn leave their place of residence. And you know, Harley Quinn turns up at the home of her, her longtime friend. Who'd it be in this case? It's not going to be Black Canary, right? And it's not going to be because we don't have Poison Ivy in this film, so that wouldn't happen. But maybe it's Huntress. That could be a little more believable. I don't know. But I just probably wrote a funnier scene that I think we'll probably get in this film. But that would be cool if they do that. That would be dope. I'd love to see that. No, Harley looks so pitiful there. Oh, I want to give her a hug. But she's got all her worldly possessions. And I don't know, is that the otter or whatever that is in her tray there, whatever she's carrying out? Probably this has absolutely nothing to do with the Joker. This is probably her just getting kicked out by, like I said, Huntress, or I don't know. Um, who else would she be hanging around with in this film? I'm not sure. I don't know. Uh, we got Maggie Sawyer, don't we? In this film, Maggie Sawyer, I think. I don't think she'd be hanging around with her because she's a cop. So that makes even less sense. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. We got a couple more images here from on the set. I think this is I'm not sure. This looks like it's a behind the scenes picture, so I don't think this is necessarily going to be in the movie. She's hugging. Let's see. The actor's name is Dana Lee, and it says his character's name is Doc. Doc. Hey, Doc. Where's Happy and Dopey? But yeah, I don't know. We'll get another image here. We can actually see his face. But we're gonna cover this Birds of Prey stuff, even if it's a even if it's an R-rated movie that I'm not gonna see, because I love the character. I love Harley Quinn. I love Margot Robbie and the way she portrays Harley Quinn. So we're gonna keep bringing you these photos at the end of the show if they're available. And yeah, that's Dana Lee. He's playing Doc. I don't know who the heck that is. This is probably, like I said, behind the scenes, I think. I can't tell if there's the guy behind Margot Robbie might be like an assistant director or something. I don't know. Can't tell. And we got one more set of images here from another scene. This is Harley with before she got all dirtied up and stuff in the same outfit, buying some Purina Chow. Apparently not for herself, thankfully. I think this is going to be for, she hasn't been on that hard times, but she's apparently going to be feeding that little critter that she got from the exotic pet shop. And she's got some supplies there for the little critter in her life. And we get our first on-set scene here of, this is apparently going to be Cassandra Cain. She's going to be taking care of Cassandra Cain. This is the child version of Cassandra Cain, because apparently in the comics she's Batgirl, or a version of Batgirl. I'm glad they're going with this version because we didn't even have the Barbara Gordon version of Batgirl yet. How can you have Barbara Gordon not start with, I mean, how can you have Batgirl not start with the Barbara Gordon version? That's what I always say about when they want to start with Tim Drake or Jason Todd. You got to start with Dick Grayson. We got to see Dick Grayson as Robin first. He is the definitive Robin in my book. I know Tim Drake especially has his fans, but I take nothing away from Tim Drake. I don't dislike him. Because I disliked Jason Todd. I think everybody disliked Jason Todd, which is why they kind of made him a villain. But Dick Grayson's where it's at, man. That's where it's at. And you got to start with Dick Grayson. You start with Dick Grayson, man. And yeah, so there we go. That's our Birds of Prey update for this week. Our Harley Quinn sighting for the week. Okay, so once again, thank you for joining us on this glorious Saturday evening on the Torch News Roundup, the Johnny Torch live broadcast, number 125. Boy, you know, every time I hit like a milestone, every 25 episodes, I stop and think, yeah, this started out as just like a 5-minute segment when I was just putting together, you know, recorded videos just to give a little brief, sort of brief update on what's going on. And, you know, we got a whole like 45-minute to hour broadcast now where we talk about this stuff. It's really cool. And again, if you like what we're doing here, smash that like button, share the video with your friends, and subscribe because there is more goodies to come as we cover everything in pop culture, at least in everything in pop culture that interests me, and which includes some sci-fi such as the latest Star Wars news. We also got Star Trek updates whenever they interest me. I'm not into Discovery and stuff like that. I'm mostly a classic Trek fan. So if they're gonna do, you know, more of the Kelvin universe films, I'll cover that. And you know, basically some stuff like that. Then we also talk about comics and superhero films. Uh, Very rarely do we go into the books themselves because they're in an abysmal state, but we talk about all that stuff. So you're interested in that stuff, you'll want to keep an eye on this channel. And again, hit that hit that thumbs up button, and hit that like button, the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on my website, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, for Bullets Bulletins, and you will find all the updates that there is in the comic uh, epic saga, which is The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. I want to thank you very much for being here. God love you, and I mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart. God love you for following and watching, if you made it all the way through this video, especially. And if you have, in fact, checked out The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye comics, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And I always read all my comments because they're usually not many, and I'll usually reply to them on the next subsequent broadcast. So until next we meet yet again, this is your host, Johnny Torch, reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.